As a mother, I wear many hats, and there are so many different parts of parenting that I have to adjust to. In addition to having autistic boys, I also have other kids that are non-autistic that I also have to manage. So in today's video, I want to discuss what it's like having to raise both autistic and non-autistic kids. I'm actually going to break this video down into two parts. In this first video today, I want to talk about some of the struggles and difficulties I've experienced raising both autistic and non-autistic kids. And in the second video that'll follow next, I want to talk about some of the positive attributes and benefits I've actually noticed from having both sets of those kids. If this sounds like something of interest to you, then please just consider to continue to watch this video. And also, if you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Melinda, and I like to record videos dealing with parenting and all things autism. So make sure if you're new to hit that subscribe button down below and to come back and also to hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. Going forward, I'm going to be recording at least 2 videos a month that'll go live on Sundays. There will be times that additional videos will be uploaded, but that's why it's important that you hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. All right, let's get into today's video. One of the first struggles or difficulties that I have having both autistic and non-autistic kids was getting the non-autistic kids to understand their diagnosis of their siblings. A little bit of background about me. I have 6 kids, 5 boys and 1 girl. Yes, you heard me right. I have 6 kids. They're all mine. I actually delivered all of them. So yes, actually 6 kids that I birthed. Of these kids, my oldest son is 23. Then I have a 17-year-old son. I have a 12-year-old son. And I have triplets that are 10 years old and they're going to be 11 in December. Of the triplets, I have identical boys and a girl. I dropped 2 eggs in 1 split. So the boys are identical and then that little girl. And the identical boys are the 2 that are autistic. So they have a same age sibling, and then they have, again, the 3 older brothers above them. When the boys were initially diagnosed with autism, it was a shock to me and my husband. I mean, again, we had to educate ourselves about the diagnosis, but then we also had to figure out how do we explain this to their siblings? And how do we get them to understand that some of the behaviors that they've seen in their siblings are because of this autism diagnosis? And so that was a struggle and a difficulty to try to explain autism in a way that children could understand. This is something that I found helped me. One of the things that I did was trying to, again, explain it in a way to their education level. So for example, to my 23-year-old son, I went more into detail. I explained more about the diagnosis. I explained more about ways if he was intervening and helping with his sibling, ways he could be helpful. Whereas when it came to triplet sister that is same age, I kept it very basic. And I just stated that, hey, your brothers get a little bit more upset easier than you do. Or there's some things that don't bother you that bother them. They'll have to have things the same way or it makes them really, really nervous or really, really anxious. And so a key thing that I found was by explaining information in an age-appropriate way and not trying to over-explain or give them more information than they needed at that age, that kind of helped with some of that difficulty. Did it make it perfect? No. Were there times that they still didn't quite understand why their siblings acted the way they did? Of course. But again, by taking the time to try to address and let them know about the diagnosis and keeping it age appropriate was definitely very helpful. Another difficulty that I had was trying to balance my time. Again, I have 6 kids. And so even without having an autistic kid, balancing parenting with 6 children is difficult. But add on that a level of having to manage all the things that come with autism, and that made it that much harder. A lot of times because of the autism, if one of the Andrew or Jason was having a meltdown or something was overwhelming them sensory-wise, or maybe we're cooking dinner and there's something about the food textures they don't like, it would take a lot of time to have to manage that situation, that behavior. And so a lot of times the balance became not trying to give too much time to these 2 boys, but making the other kids feel like they're not getting enough time. And so it just became a balancing game of how do I still make sure I'm meeting the needs of my autistic kids? How do I make sure that I'm not ignoring, that I'm keeping them safe, that I'm making them feel supported, while at the same time making sure sister over here, older brothers over here are also getting equal time and equal love and attention as well. Thankfully, again, I have a wonderful husband who's a great support for me. And so we did what we could to kind of tag team each other. If one of us was managing the behavior of the autistic child, the other one was pouring time and attention into the other kids. So again, as a family, we eat around the table together. That is one thing that we always made time to do. We sit down, we discuss our day. If during this dinner time, for example, one of the boys was having a hard time, they were getting frustrated, they were getting upset, then say, for example, my husband might step in and pull them to the side and calm them down and manage that behavior. While he's doing that, I'm continuing on with the conversation with the kids at the table. We're still playing the game. We're still asking and inquiring into how the day is going. And having this balancing routine, I feel like was very beneficial. We would also make sure that we switched who was doing which role. So it wasn't always like dad's always getting pulled away or mom's always getting pulled away. So that way we both were equally managing the autism behavior, but we were also equally spending time and spending attention to the older kids as well. So they felt loved and supported additionally. Another struggle with having both autistic and non-autistic kids is trying to balance resources. So the biggest resource that there was to struggle, in addition to time, was money. And so as anyone who has an autistic kid knows, it's a lot of money to do all the therapies and modalities and things you can to try to make sure this autistic kid is getting all the support they can and to try to prepare them to be able to be best they can, be able to independently live a life similar to their non-autistic siblings. And so for us, we had our sons in occupational therapy. They were doing speech therapy and they were doing ABA therapy, in addition to different things they were also doing at school. Well, this also, in addition to the time component, was a money component. And so a lot of time we had to adjust our work schedules. We had to adjust different things that we did to make sure we could get them back and forth to all these various activities. Because I work from home, because I have my own practice, I had the ability to adjust my schedule the most. So a lot of times I built in time that I would see my own private practice patients around when the kids had therapies or other things they were doing. Well, the struggle becomes, I don't want to spend so much time, I don't want to spend so much money only focusing on the therapies and things that they need to do, that the other siblings aren't getting to do the things that they want to do. And so this is where we had to also make sure we were also making sure we had time and money to do things that the other kids wanted to do. So my daughter, for example, wanted to do gymnastics. So we made that a priority. So we made sure that we found a gymnastics center that also fitted within the schedule so we could still get her to gymnastics and let her do something that she enjoyed. We could be there to support her. We would take turns taking her to gymnastics while the other parent would take the boys to their various therapies. And again, as you know, as a parent, it's always a balancing act. You can't do everything perfectly. Sometimes time splits 60-40, sometimes 70-30, but you do the best you can. And that is what we did. We tried to, were there times that some of the kids couldn't necessarily do all the things they wanted to? Of course. Part of it, again, was just the sheer number of kids that we had. We had 6 kids. So because of that, we would almost have to take turns even at times between activities we chose to do, even between the non-autistic kids. So if daughter was doing gymnastics, then the other boys couldn't be doing an activity. But once she did it for a while, then maybe she would pause gymnastics for a second so one of the other brothers could do, say, for example, basketball or track or something that they wanted to pursue. And a great benefit was, as the boys progressed further and their therapies got less and less, it freed up a lot of time and also more money for us to be able to let the other kids do other activities, in addition to letting them do things that were more fun besides only getting to do part in things like therapy all the time. And another thing we struggled to balance with having both the autistic and non-autistic kids was balancing activities. Similarly to the last point, again, when you have a lot of kids and a lot of things that you need to do, it's hard to be able to do everything. And especially when it came to certain activities, as far as taking certain vacations, spending time with friends, going to certain events. Sometimes, say for example, they wanted to go to Six Flags. Well, when the boys were younger, that was something we really couldn't do. It was too stimulating, it was too many people, the crowd was too much for them. So a lot of times it was a balance between letting the non-autistic kids do an activity they want to do, something like an amusement park, balancing with the fact that these 2 kids can't do it. So it's like, it's a give and take, because again, we want to spend time as a family. We want to do things all together. And so there were times when it caused the other kids not to be able to do certain activities that they wanted to do. But we also tried to weigh this against and putting things in place that allowed them to still do those activities. As the boys got older, and also when we learned different ways that we could adjust and do other things to help them, we were able to do some of these activities. So for example, if we were doing something like an amusement park, we would go at a non-peak hour. We would take things like headphones. We would do events that were less stimulating to the children, so that way the other kids can still go, they can still get the benefit of the amusement park, but it's not so overwhelming for the other 2 boys and they can still enjoy it as well. The point that I'm trying to make here is this. Parenting is difficult, but we make the adjustments and the concessions we need to make for our kids. And that is exactly what we do when we have autistic and non-autistic kids. The key is to make sure that both groups know that we love and support them equally. And that though there are some differences in the ways that we might have to adjust parenting to this group over here because of different sensory demands, different social demands, different emotional regulational demands, it doesn't mean that we're not going to support this group just as equally over here and making sure that their social emotional wellness is also being met. And also, again, another thing I think that really helped us in our family was we are very big on open with communication and people being free to let us know how they feel. So we would just check in with them from time to time, like, hey, what's going on? Or, hey, I know that was kind of hard. I'm sorry we couldn't do this. Are you okay with that? And just gave them a forum to be able to express how they felt about it. And I think this helped prevent a lot of resentment. This helped prevent a lot of miscommunication. This helped prevent a lot of under the ground feelings because we were able to get ahead of those because the kids were able to let us know that things were actually bothering them. So then we could adjust and put things in place to make sure that we were meeting all of their needs. All right, guys, now I need you to share with me. What are some things that you struggle with when managing both autistic and non-autistic kids? Are there any strategies or things that you've realized that have been helpful to you when you're trying to parent both? Make sure to comment those down below. We're a community here and we want to share our knowledge with everybody. If you did enjoy today's video, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up. And again, if you're new, please make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell because I don't want you to miss any future uploads. All right, guys, hope you have a great week and I'll see you back here for another Sunday upload. Bye.